Many businesses at the time fiercely opposed any restriction or regulation on child labor. I mean, what's a few thousand dead 5-year-olds compared to, me getting an extra $20 in my pocket, if I'm awful. But the NCLC did succeed in 1912 in convincing President William Howard Taft to sign into law the creation of the U.S. Children's Bureau. A law was then passed which prohibited any interstate trade of goods that were produced by child labor. So, if I'm running a factory in New York, having as many 5-year-olds as I can find who haven't got their fingers ripped out of their hands yet to make my sprockets and my widgets, well, I can still sell them around New York State, but now I can't sell them to New Jersey or California or anywhere else in the country, which would be a sanction that's hoping to put economic pressure. No company, very few companies want to limit their potential customer base. So if the thought is the pressure will say, well, if I want to still be able to sell my goods throughout the country, well, then I need to hire grown-ups. Supreme Court, hey, how you doing? The same Supreme Court which gave us the Dred Scott decision also declared the law unconstitutional. But in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act finally did outlaw interstate trade, any products produced by children under the age of 16. But look at how long it took from 1904. It took 34 years to convince the government that maybe part of the social contract. Remember the social contract? That the purpose of government is to defend the rights of its citizens to life, liberty, property. Well, or life, liberty, property, according to John Locke. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Maybe I can't pursue happiness if my arm was ripped out of its socket when I was 6 because I was working in a factory, and maybe my right to life is somehow is not being respected if my head is ripped out of its socket when I'm 6 working in a factory. It took 34 years. So way to go, though. Way to go, Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. Of course, it wasn't just tough for the kids in the factories. It was tough for everyone, and maybe especially tough for women. Florence Kelley, who was a big supporter of the NCLC, the champions of children's rights, was also interested in workers' rights in a much broader sense. She was the first general secretary of the National Consumers League, which was founded in 1899 by the one and only Hull House's very own Jane Addams and others. She led one of the original battles to try and secure safety in factory working conditions. She really hated the sweatshop labor and conditions, and urged the passage of an 8-hour workday law in order to specifically protect women in the workplace. And just like with the kids, she was initially met with strong resistance from the factory owners who were exploiting women's labor and were unwilling to give up the long hours and low wages they paid in order to offer the cheapest product possible to consumers. Hey, what's a few thousand injured women if it allows me to have another $5 in my wallet? But that all changed in a horrific 1911 tragedy in New York City at the Triangle Shirtwaist Company's factory. A tragedy so horrible that people could no longer close their eyes to the plight of women in the workplace. And in our next video, we'll take a look at the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911.